Good afternoon and welcome to the Free West Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so before. And yes, the crisis in South Africa is deepening. Last week we saw the conflict around the town of Senekal, where the young man Brendan Horner had been murdered in a nearby town. The confrontation between the radical leftist, communist, Afro-Marxist EFF of Julius Malema and some farmers from the area that took place in the town. Fortunately, no one got hurt in the process, but it was a very close shave. But now we have something that some people are starting to call terrorism, because very many farms in the area, especially around Hatzelsville, are being set alight deliberately by some of these black protesters. They're sort of in the style of the Black Lives Matter movement in the US. And here they are burning down farms and they're killing animals in the process. It's cruelty to the animals, to the cattle and other livestock. It's a terrible situation, and the state and the police are simply not doing enough, or not doing anything even, to stop this process. And so I've got here with me on the channel currently Mr. Gustav Venter. He's also an author and somebody we speak to quite regularly on our Afrikaans channel. And he's been following this process. Good afternoon, Gustav.
And good afternoon, Dan.
So what exactly is happening out there in the Free State at the moment regarding these, the burning down of farms and grazing, cattle grazing and sheep grazing lands?
Well, just for a scene setter, I should remind our overseas listeners or viewers that we're coming off the winter right now. Winter is just ended. We haven't had our rainy season yet. Well, it's supposed to start, but it hasn't really kicked off yet. So it's really, really dry over here. And brush fires are an extreme threat under normal circumstances. But what has happened right now is that we had protesters near a town called Hatzelsville. They were protesting dirty water in their taps. So they went about it in their usual ribald fashion, and they set fire to some tires. They seem to like setting things alight when they protest. The fire got some of the grazing caught fire, and it's just been like an express train. I mean, it has spread probably close to 100 kilometers by now, from district to district, and they've been battling this fire since the weekend. And the farmers are exhausted. The damage has been enormous, and this is just from the one fire. But now we find that these fires are being duplicated in other places. Even here where I stay, which is a couple of 100 kilometers away from Hatzelsville, we've had fires here on the farms, and this is something really terrible. It's one of the greatest fears of any farmer around here and other places. In fact, when your veld is dry, that there should be a fire. And in fact, back in the early 90s, this was a ploy used by the ANC back then. They had this campaign of arson. It was dealt with back in the day because we had a very efficient firefighting service all over South Africa. But that is non-existent right now. These farmers are on their own. Now, I'm on some WhatsApp groups where they are just begging for help. They are in dire straits. They're begging for anybody that can come and assist them, farmers, townspeople, anybody to just go and help them. And they're close to breaking point. Now the question we need to ask ourselves is, what is going to happen if they reach that breaking point?
And how do you see the scenario playing out? Because there's some talk that the farmers could start taking control of the territory and put up checkpoints and so on. If the police are not capable of coming to their assistance and stopping these protesters from committing arson on the farms. Is that a kind of a conceivable scenario?
It's all too conceivable. In fact, it's a very likely scenario. As you know, one of the buzzwords in South Africa right now, when you're referring to government, is capacity. We often hear government does not have the capacity to do this or that. Well, they don't have a capacity to fight these fires. On the one hand, on the other hand, they don't have the capacity to police the areas. Our police service is really functioning at a very low level. They are poorly trained by and large. You have some exceptions, but by and large, they are poorly trained. They have a very low morale, and they're very corrupt. A lot of them are corrupt. So it's just not within their capabilities to stop these farmers if the farmers should go that route. And I can absolutely conceive where the point will come, and it will come soon, where farmers will just cordon off their districts and will only allow people in there who satisfy their demands for identification and for a reason to be in those areas. So it will be a very stringent form of access control.
Yes, I was talking to the well-known South African economist, my namesake, Roodt, yesterday, and he was saying that this communist government that we've got, communist, socialist, Afro-Marxist government, it's quite ironic because under them there has been more privatization of government services than under any other preceding government, because of the incapacity. The private sector has had to take over, the provision of policing and the guarding of premises and a whole firefighting, for example. I know of a case in the town or city of Randburg where, the municipality was not providing a fire station. And then one of the big companies wanted to put up a new headquarters there, and they made it a condition for them to get zoning permission for their headquarters. They had to construct a fire station there. So the municipality got the fire station for free, and so it was privately provided. So you have that kind of situation all over South Africa, and yes, and the fire brigade has just about, I think the rural one has just about collapsed. So it will have to be replaced by a private initiative. And if these farmers come together and they start providing it, then they will just take over another function previously provided by the state. As Roodt was suggesting yesterday.
Sure. And it's happening. We have the ludicrous situation, and this is real Keystone Cops stuff. I mean, but a common sight all over South Africa is the local police station being guarded by private security companies. We even have army camps being guarded by private security firms. It's gobsmacking. It doesn't seem real, but it is. And we have to bear this in mind. If a conflict should arise between the farmers acting as some kind of unit against the state will have absolutely no chance. They will not be able to contain it.
Well, let's hope that, it doesn't quite come to that. But yes, South Africa is getting more and more unstable at the moment as a result. We are a failing state. And as a result, criminality is increasing, disorder and arson, as we are seeing now in the Free State. So the net effect of all of this is less stability and a rise in the potential for localized conflicts. But
Well, government seems to be going exactly contrary to this. They're going in the opposite direction because they are still pushing for what they call expropriation without compensation. Really, the people of South Africa, all the people in South Africa, are poorly served by the ANC government. The Institute for Race Relations published the results of a survey, according to which only 2% of people in this country say that land is the number one priority, is the most important thing for government to do. People are just not really that interested in having land. We know that worldwide there is a trend against subsistence farming, which is one of the toughest ways of making a living. Yet here they are pushing for all they're worth. We must take back the land and so on. It's just astonishing, and it will have the dire results. We're rapidly getting to the point where a lot of farmers will just say they've got nothing left to lose. And anybody knowing the South African farmer, the boer, will know that a boer without anything to lose is a daunting prospect. It is, if he's your enemy, he is a formidable enemy. Yet government doesn't seem to grasp this.
yes, you're quite right, because they seem to be blinded by their socialist ideology and the notion of the collectivization of agriculture in South Africa, and collectivizing land ownership and ending private land ownership, as you say, expropriation without compensation, or that they've been talking about, and they're actually rushing through the new Expropriation Act right now. That I think they want to get it through in November or December, so that they can start expropriating land. So that's going to add a further ingredient to an already volatile and explosive cocktail out in the countryside, and especially out in the Free State, where we are seeing all these problems, with farm murders and now arson. So yes, we'll just have to watch the situation very closely. But thank you very much for all the information you've given us this afternoon, Gustav, and we'll certainly talk to you once again very soon.
And that'll be my pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
Until next time, our viewers, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll have other interviews and commentary coming up soon. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.